Alright, if you stuck around all the way to the end, you'll find my results and my conclusions. I might also leave some timestamps in the notes section. Alright, let's continue. Hello everyone, welcome back. This episode is a drive along video. And I'm just gonna make a quick run to the bank. So I figured I'd make a drive along, it's been a while. Oh yeah. Alright, drive along, here we come. Oh, I gotta put my safety belt on. These cars remind you very well. Alright, so I'm doing a little test right now. I'm actually trying to compare the Insta360 One at 30 frames per second at 4K. Okay, 4K meaning like spherically 4K. Now it's gonna still be in 1080p in 30 frames per second versus 1080p, supposedly 1080p at 60 frames per second, but spherically it's at 2.5K versus 4K. So I want to see if there's a quality and difference, because when I render them and export them, they come out to be like at 1080p. One's just at 30 frames per second, the other one's at 60 frames per second. So I don't know, when it gets exported, does it like blow it up to 1080p, because they're both 1080p. And I'm wondering what the quality is. So I'm just giving it a test right now. What I've noticed is the sound is slightly off with the 30 frames per second. Okay, the sound is off at 30 frames per second, and when I do it at 60 frames per second, the sound matches a lot better. It's not perfect, but it matches a lot better. I can tell you that much. Another thing I've noticed at 30 frames per second on the Insta360 One is that the color is, I don't know, something off about the color for some reason. Don't know what it is. So when I make this video, I'm not gonna do any changes to the color or the exposure. I'm just gonna leave it as is. I noticed at 60 frames per second, the exposure seems to be a lot better, or the color is, everything is kind of, when I look at the video at 60 frames per second, it seems to match what I see for the most part. The coloring, the exposure matches what I see for the most part. I know it's on auto exposure, auto focus and all that, but that's just what I've noticed. So right now it's at 30 frames per second, and that's what I got it on, 30 frames per second for the most part. And so, but I have another camera. Let me just grab it right here. So here's the other Insta360 One here, and this is set at 60 frames per second. So I calibrated both of them, gyro calibration, so they should be level. Although I think one might be slightly a little different than the other. But anyways, I gyro calibrated, and so I'm going to test it out. And I'm kind of curious because I'm wondering about the quality of the video. I know that the fisheye and the Insta360 One don't have really good quality. Their bit rate's probably really low and everything, but I'm in the market for possibly a new camera. And I'm only saying that because it's the holidays, and I usually wait for good deals during the holiday season, because that's when you usually find good deals, around this time of year, hopefully. Either a previous year's camera or a current release camera, Maybe I'll consider a GoPro, maybe. Although I think GoPro's overhyped and overrated. Personally, I think they're overhyped and overrated. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Still waiting for the Insta360 One X to drop. Let's see if they'll do it. They didn't release, well, they did release a new camera called the Insta360 Go, but I'm not going to be buying that camera per se. I think they just took an Insta360 One, basically one of these, and basically gave you half of an Insta360 One and charged you $200 when you can actually buy an Insta360 One. You can actually buy one of these refurbished for $200. And the software, the app, works with existing footage on your camera roll. So you may not even need an Insta360 One to use the Insta360 One app. I'm gonna wait for this FedEx. Alright, now I'm gonna go. I'm just headed to the bank real quick. I'm just gonna compare these two videos. Let's see how they match up. I don't know if I'll do all one video or both videos. Maybe I'll do side by side. Maybe I won't do side by side. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this, but it's a drive along video, so who knows? Who knows? Anyways, I miss coming here. My clock is off, so I came here after 5 o'clock. I'm here to pay my little mortgage here. Alright, I'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Let me take this out. Ugh. It's still hot. There's supposed to be a cold front, which there is, because this morning it was 68 degrees, which normally it's 75 degrees, so it felt cold. But during the day, it's like 82, 88. I think it's 88 degrees, but it feels like 92 instead of 100. So it's still hot, sunny. All right, made my little bank run, pay off my mortgage here for my house. I guess you could say I own a house, but the bank owns a house. I'm just paying them. And okay, now this camera here. This camera is at 60 frames per second. All right, 1080p at 60 frames per second. That's what it exports out to. It exports out to 1080p 60 frames per second. Although, when I do that, the spherical, okay, the 360 footage is at 2.5K instead of 4K. Now, I'm wondering about the quality of the video, if it is like, how the quality is, and that's what I'm wondering. And that's what I'm trying to compare between the two. So let's see how it comes out. Now, not too much time has changed. The lighting should be very similar. The distance back and forth similar. I'm not going any faster or slower. I'm just going back home, of course. So let's see how that goes. And again, I might be in the market for a new camera. I'm really leaning towards the Insta360 One X. Although it is bigger, I'm not sure where I'm going to use it. I might use it as a chest mount, maybe a chest mount, or maybe the handlebar mount when I ride my bike, or I could use it as the helmet mount. I might change it up. I'll still use Insta360 One, and if it works out, if the quality is a lot better, if I actually see the improvement, and when I upload it to YouTube and it looks a lot better, I'll start using that. I may buy several, who knows, maybe there's some refurbished Insta360 One X's out there if I could get a lower price. Although the price did not go down, or maybe it has. I'll check it out. Check out Amazon and some other places to see if the price has gone down. And if it has, then I'll probably snatch one up. Or maybe I'll go to a GoPro Hero 7. I don't know if I'll do the Hero 8. Who knows what I'll do. I'm looking for a little bit higher quality on the video, but who knows? Who knows? That's. But then again, you know, YouTube kind of. I don't know if it's me, but YouTube seems to like throttle down videos that may not get a lot of views. Kind of weird. I've noticed like some of the videos that like is, especially my videos, that is searchable and gets a lot of views, those videos come out really nice. And then some of the newer videos that I put up, well, when I watch them, even at 1080 on my smartphone, they're not that great. So I'm not sure what it is, because when I watch the video on my computer right after all the editing and all the rendering, it looks pretty good. I'm like, you know, thinking it's going to be all right, but I don't think you should be doing 4K video to watch a video on YouTube so you can watch it on your smartphone. I think that's just overkill. Anyways, I'll find out. We'll see. We'll see the comparison between the two, and then I'll get an idea of if 1080 at 60 frames per second on the Insta360 One is better or worse than just a regular 30 frames per second. You know, I just export them out to 1080 and regular 16:9. Anyways, made it back home. Home sweet home. I'm back going backwards. Oh man, waiting for that cold front. It's gonna get like about 55 degrees. So it is getting cooler. I notice it's not as humid, or doesn't feel as humid, but still pretty warm. Still pretty warm. I'm wearing my shorts and everything. Anyways, backing up here. All right, perfect. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me put this up. Well, anyways, feel free to like. Feel free to like, dislike, leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Until next time, bye-bye. Alright, if you stuck around all the way to the end, you'll find my results and my conclusions. I might also leave some timestamps in the notes section. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so as you see here, the difference between the 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second is 4K spherically and 2.5K spherically. What does that mean? It basically means that when you export to 1080, which that's the way the Insta360 One is set up, it means basically you're going to get a shrinking or less view spherically, so the amount of pixels within that frame 16:9 rectangular frame there, you're gonna miss out. So here I have the red box, which indicates the 60 frames per second, which is exported at 1080p, but again spherically it's at 2.5K. You'll see that the box is smaller than 30 frames per second, which is outside that box. And you'll see that you're getting more in the 16:9 frame. And I guess that would mean basically there's more pixels within that frame, technically. All right. Okay, here what I've done is, on a regular, in the video, this is how you would see it. I pretty much matched up where that Costco sticker is. So I just put them side by side, and again, the red box is basically 60 frames per second, as I've noted on there, at where it says 60 FPS, 60 frames per second there. And if you look, you can see Costco on the left side
It's much cleaner, more crisper, not so blurry, versus on the right side, which is within the red box, it's a little bit more blurry. But again, does it make that much of a difference? Maybe for a drive along, it might, but for riding a bike that I do, probably not that much, because I don't have anything that clear and that close. So let me go on to the next frame here. All right, in this frame, what I've done is I've taken, again, two of the different frames per second, and this time this is at 100% at 1080p. Okay, 100%, 16:9, 1080p, and this is what it comes out to if you did 1:1. So if you look, this is obviously a closer look. It's pretty clear that the left side, where it says Costco, that sticker, it's a tire sticker, it's sharper, more clearer than on the right at within the box of 60 frames per second. So this does mean that the video quality at the video quality at 60 frames per second is lower. Of course, you would expect that because it's spherically at 2.5, so it's less pixels, but within the same frame. As opposed to 30 frames per second, you would have more pixels within the same frame. The same 16:9 frame is what I'm talking about. And so there seems to be a better detail at 30 frames per second. All right, in this final frame here, this final example, I'm showing at 200%. All right, so if you just took a 1080p photograph and you did it at 200%, these are the two comparisons, okay? And you could clearly see it. Is there much of a difference? I mean, I can't read any of them other than Costco, and other than the S being more visibly sharper, and the color, but the color may be lighting. It could be due to lighting, but it is much sharper at 30 frames per second than it is at 60 frames per second. And of course, that's what I would expect. So what are my conclusions and experience about using 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second using the Insta360 One? Okay, so I've been shooting at 60 frames per second. I have to admit, it doesn't seem as sharp, but at the same time, it does seem to have a different appearance to it versus 30 frames per second. It does seem more like what I would see with my own eyes. Although I think it could be just my imagination, or maybe it's just kind of blurred to the point. Would you be able to see it on a smartphone? Probably not too much of a difference, in my opinion. Would you be able to see it on a computer screen, like a laptop computer screen, where you would have like a screen size that could fit, was it 1920 by 1080? It probably is noticeable on a computer monitor or a computer screen or a laptop. Now, my experience with the difference between the two, here's what I've noticed. At night, 60 frames per second seems to work better. Now, I haven't tested it, but that's just what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm experiencing. I probably have to do a test at night. That's with riding a bike, when I ride my Rad Power bike. Now, during the day, or if you're not riding a bike, I guess it's possible to do 30 frames per second during the day. You probably would get better video quality. But I also been using 60 frames per second to do slow-mos. Now, depends when I use them. Like when I do a voiceover, I do use the slow-mo quite a bit. but when I'm actually recording while I'm riding, I'm recording the audio while I'm riding my bicycle, I don't use the slow-mo as much. So I may go back, I may not, it depends. I just think at 60 frames per second it just seems to have a different look to it, and maybe because it's a little bit more blurry, and so it has a different feel to it other than the 30 frames per second. So I might have to play around. Anyways, this concludes my episode. I hope you like it. Feel free to like, share, and leave a comment, and please subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye.